Good afternoon, everyone. I am Gggi from Korea Africa Foundation, who will be the MC of the Korea Africa Green Business Seminar. Today's seminar is co-hosted by Korea Africa Foundation, Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Korea Green Foundation and Global Green Growth Institute, and we are having this event to share all the insights about the know-how to go into the African market for the green growth. So this event is hosted by the many agencies, and we are holding this event physically present at the KCCI conference room. So please understand that the speakers wear masks during their presentations. Today's session has today's seminar have two sessions. The first session is about the global trends of green technology and green policy, and the second session is about cooperation and opportunities in Korea-Africa green industry. And this seminar provides online streaming on the KAF YouTube channel. So if you send us the question through the live chat, those questions will be answered during Q&A session and panel discussion. And then before moving on to the main presentation session, please let me invite Gggi, Chairman of Korea Africa Foundation, for an opening remarks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank everyone for coming to Korea Africa Green Business Seminar. And in the morning, we have heard a very big shocking news, and that has distracted a lot of people away from our seminar. But in spite of that, Africa will continue to thrive. We have to be engaged with African businesses. And even though our seminar is held as a small seminar, we are joined by a larger number of people online, and I would like to thank everybody for joining us offline today, and welcome indeed. And I would like to thank President Chae-yeol of Korea Green Foundation and Director Lee Sung-woo of International Affairs Division.
다시 한번 감사드립니다. 오늘 온라인으로 또는 오프라인으로 많이들 계실 줄로 압니다. 이런 어려운 상황에서도 관심을 가져주시고 적극 참여해 주신 데 대해서 제삼 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 신사숙녀 여러분, 지난해 11월 개최된 유엔 기후변화 협약 제26차 당사국 총회의 결과로도 알 수 있듯이 전 세계적으로 기후변화와 지속 가능 성장에 대한 관심이
Korea and Africa is actively taking a part in this global trend. By 2030, Korea has pledged to reduce its greenhouse gas emission by 40% based on 2018 level. And in the SM summit meeting, we have committed to the international community that we are going to increase the portion of Green New Deal ODA to above the average level of Development Aid Committee of OECD by 2025. Various governments in Africa have also pledged to go carbon neutral, and they are actively establishing green business policies. For example, South Africa has pledged to develop smart city and environment-friendly water and sewage and other infrastructure. Kenya has adopted a lot of green energy policies as part of its Vision 2030 national mid- and long-term plan. It is actively promoting the development of infrastructure for Green New Deal industry. Mozambique has pledged to generate 20% of its energy with renewable energy and actively promoting investment in the field. Africa has this year 27th COP meeting COP27 is scheduled to be held in Egypt. And Egypt and various other countries in Africa will once again see the incentive to actively engage in green businesses. Africa has abundant resources for solar, wind, geothermal, hydro energies, and based on this potential, it has great potential for promoting green businesses. So more than coal and gas, environment-friendly energy such as PV, offshore wind is increasing in its portion, and digital green innovation will increase the efficiency of energy, and global companies will all go into the African market. Of course, green energy development could have the side effect of destroying the environment. So all countries and businesses should be aware of such risk. Ladies and gentlemen, under such circumstances, Korean companies are now actively going into the African market, building green infrastructure and studying the green infrastructure and renewable energy related trends and policies, and actively contributing to the development of green infrastructure in Africa. ESG management is a familiar term for all of us and is part of green business momentum. Green businesses is taking a strong root in the business management of corporations around the world. And as we go into the post-COVID era that is highly unpredictable, I believe as we envision the new economic cooperation between Africa and Korea, this green business will be a North Star for all of us. Korea-Africa Foundation will continue to be committed to promoting green businesses in Africa so that we can create more growth opportunities for all businesses involved. Once again, before I conclude, I would like to thank everyone for helping us to organize today's Korea-Africa Green Business Seminar. And once again, my special thanks goes to all the offline and online participants for today's seminar. I wish you the best of luck in all of your endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your opening remarks, Mr. Yao. And then Sung-woo Lee, the Director of the International Affairs Division of KCCI, will deliver the welcoming message.
And honored to welcome you to Korea Africa Green Business Seminar. On behalf of KCCI, I would like to express my special thanks to Ambassador Gggi, President of Korea Africa Foundation, and Mr. Jae-yeol, Chairman of Korea Green Foundation, for their tireless effort for today's seminar. I would also like to extend my warm welcome to all the participants here today, as well as those joining us online. Over the past few decades, the global demand for green business has shown rapid growth. Green technology and substantiality market size already surpassed $10 billion in 2020, and it is projected to grow 7 times large within a decade. And without a doubt, Africa is one of the most vibrant markets in this area, and it is home to many groundbreaking green business. The African Union's ambitious plan to foster 8,000 kilometers long forest has created more than 350,000 jobs and 28 million hectares of green land so far. South Africa is constructing the nation's largest solar power plant. Its total investment amounted to $770 million, and more than 60% of it came from foreign direct investment. The continent with the world's youngest population is embracing and harnessing innovation to match toward a greener economy. There is also much room for win-win cooperation between Korea and Africa in innovative green business. Korea is renowned for its advanced technologies in infrastructure construction, ICT, and renewable energy, all of which are important foundation for sustainable economy. There are already quite a few Korean companies like Hyundai, Rotom, and Samsung Heavy Industries that are contributing to greener Africa with such technologies. I truly hope to see the number of such win-win cooperation cases multiply in years to come. Furthermore, Korean government recently announced its plan to actively negotiate the FTA with African nations. It will broaden the scope of cooperation and opportunities for Korean companies to participate in Africa's infrastructure project. Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry is ready to work with the Korea Africa Foundation, Korea Green Foundation, and the Gggi to promote green business and expand cooperation between Korea and Africa. I hoped today's seminar serves an opportunity for everyone to gain insight into global green business trend and discover new possibility. Thank you very much.
네, 대한상공회의소 이성우 본부장님의 환영사 감사드립니다. 그럼 마지막 순서.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, for your welcoming message. Next, we will invite the chair, the chairman of Korea Green Foundation, for the congratulatory message. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Chair, Chairman of Korea Green Foundation. Thank you for taking your precious time for this great occasion. I send my warmest welcome to all of you participating on and offline. And also, my thank goes to Gggi, Chairman of Korea Africa Foundation, and his staff members, and also Sung-woo Lee from the KCCI, and also I thank the Gggi for these meaningful event. Korea is suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic. Before COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, Nobel laureates were surveyed about the question of what is the most urgent threat to human being. The first answer was climate environment crisis, and the second was a nuclear war, and the third most answered was an infectious disease. Now, we are struggling with the climate crisis. Against this backdrop, this seminar, the Korea Africa Green Business Seminar, is a very meaningful and opportune to know the status of the Africa continent for the greenhouse gas emission reduction, and to find out the cooperation and opportunities for the green growth businesses in the Africa. The Africa is the second largest continent next to Asia. That 1.3 billion populations are living there. They didn't contribute to the climate crisis, but they are affecting more than any other continents. So we have to pursue the green growth business continuously, and through the construction of the railway system, which will be very relevant to the greenhouse gas reduction, we can contribute to the green growth of the Africa. All the Korean companies can go into the African continent to have the hands-on experience and the business cases in Africa, which will be very meaningful for the Korean companies. So our foundation will support all of the Korean companies so that they can contribute to solving the global problems and to expand the employment in Africa continent. For the coming 30 years, the human being should solve the climate crisis problems. Without doing so, we will face the bleak situation in the future. So we could not invite all of you to this physical meeting, but through the seminars and all the green policies, I think we can contribute to the greener Africa. Thank you once again for being here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Chaeol of Korea Green Foundation. Now we are going to take a group photo. I would like to ask all the distinguished guests to come up to the stage for a group photo session. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and please go back to your seats. Now we are going to start Korea-Africa Green Business Seminar, and the first session, Global Green Technology and Green Policies for Africa. And for today's first session, we have invited President Lee Mi-kyung from Korea Green Foundation as the moderator. President Lee has been deeply engaged in various environmental forums like Green Hydrogen Forum and Green Boat, and she will moderate the first session. So I would like to give the microphone to President Lee Mi-kyung. Good afternoon. I am President Lee Mi-kyung of Korea Green Foundation. And because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the energy has become highly unpredictable and global powers, competition over energy is intensifying. And I think this Korea-Africa Green Business Seminar is being held at a very opportune time, given the global circumstances. And in our heart, Africa is not at the spotlight these days. When we think about other countries, we tend to think about the US and European countries. Africa is a huge continent in the world, but it has never taken its fair share in our mindset. But I hope today's seminar can help us remember and be reminded of the importance of Africa. And through cooperation between Korea and Africa, I hope we can contribute to creating new business opportunities and contributing to the global climate response. Today's seminar has two speakers in the first session, and there will be Q&A afterwards. And let me briefly introduce the speakers. First speaker is going to talk about the global green technology and energy efficiency of Africa. He's from Nigeria, Dr. Abdulhamid Owalabi, and he has received his engineering master's degree in Ilorin University of Nigeria and received his doctorate degree in Gyeongbuk University. I asked him what has brought him to Korea, and he said that he has been involved in KOICA and found an opportunity to pursue his doctorate degree at Gyeongbuk University. And currently, he's working in the Global Environment-Friendly Technology Center of Gyeongbuk University, and also Dr. Yu, who is a responsible, and Dr. Yu from Gggi is going to be the second speaker. He has been a government official in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and has been dispatched to work in Gggi for now. He will talk about African green issues at a global macro level. So first, we would like to invite Dr. Abdulhamid Owalabi from Gyeongbuk University to talk about new renewable energy trends of Africa and energy efficiency.
Good afternoon. Anashimika. At least I can greet in Korea language. Thank you so much for introducing me. I am Abdulhamid from Nigeria. I could remember some few minutes back, she asked me, what brought you to South Korea and why Daegu? I said, when you come to Daegu, that is where you see so many Nigerians, especially at Gyeongbuk National University. So she was curious that why not maybe Seoul, which is closer, which is normal, in the capital city. And I told her I came through KOICA program. That was 2016. So it's a very rare privilege. And every time I have the opportunity to speak, I do appreciate KOICA for giving me the chance, and especially my country, Nigeria, for the opportunity as well. So without wasting much of the time, I will be presenting on the trend on renewable energy and energy efficiency in Africa. So, as an introduction, we all know that many countries has now turned to renewable to reduce their carbon emission. And a large part of Africa has so far been left out of the energy transition. This is a fact. Although Africa has a vast resources in solar, hydro, even in geothermal. For instance, Kenya, they have a very good geothermal resource. Solar, my country, Nigeria, they have hydro, the likes of Cameroon, Congo. And in sub-Saharan Africa, the electrification rate is at 46%, which is very poor. And in fact, in the whole of Africa, in the whole of the world, Sub-Saharan Africa is the underserved region in the world. This simply means that almost going to like 1 billion, because already at 900 million, people still lack access to clean cooking in Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa to be precise. And in the last decades, the continent has added 26 gigawatts of renewables-based generation capacity. With these 26 gigawatts, still so many people are still underserved. And the largest addition were in solar energy, because Sub-Saharan Africa, we have the highest potential of solar resource in the world. And only less than 3% of global renewables jobs are in Africa. So this is an opportunity. For the fact I'm still going to talk about the opportunities for Korean investors. This is a very good opportunity for Korean investors. In the whole world, 3% of global renewable jobs presently domicile in Africa. Although renewable energy is on the rise in Africa, there's no doubt about that. But coal, natural gas, and oil still account for 70% of the total electricity generation in Africa. A recent analysis by IRENA and AFDB shows that with the right policy framework, if the continent has a right policy framework on renewable by 2050, the continent is going to provide, renewable energy sector rather, is going to provide a 2.6 million jobs to the continent. And this is going to add to the economy of the continent a percentage of 6.4, which is actually very small, but at the same time, it is meaningful. Now, general overview of energy in Africa. Nigeria, Algeria, Angola, and Libya are among the world's 20 largest producers of oil in the world. And this country belongs to the organization known as OPEC. Also, Algeria, Egypt, and Nigeria are among the world's 20 largest producers of natural gas. In fact, my country now, Nigeria, is trying to lay some pipe. It's a project going on from Nigeria, passing through Morocco to Europe. This has been the project that the president has been doing, still ongoing. So because of the vast natural resource gas that we have in our country. So 40% of the global gas discovery between 2011 and 2018 is from Egypt, Mozambique, Senegal, South Africa, and Tanzania. Also, when we are talking of coal, we know that even the most developed country, both in the West and in the East, most of them still depends on the use of coal. We have abundance of coal in Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mozambique, and Botswana. And this is the total primary energy source from 2018 to 2018, from 2008 to 2018. You can see that nuclear is very thin. Then the electricity and heat is also not that big. Most of the continent uses biofuels and waste. And at the same time, the total primary energy supply in Africa as of 2018 shows that we have used 33 gigajoule. And out of this, we can see that even biofuel and waste covers 43%, which is very, very much. So, also, the electricity generation in the whole of Africa, as at 2020, we see that natural gas, like I earlier said, you can see the trend of natural gas. This is the natural gas. Make use of more of natural gas in Africa because we have abundance of natural gas in some of the countries. You can see oil in Africa as well, and most of the countries uses coal and pets. So even solar and wind, they are very infinitesimal. They are not that much. And the total electricity generation in Africa as of 2019 is pegged at 829 terawatt hour. And also, the installed renewable-based generation capacity from 2011 to 2020 is shown. We can see that, like I earlier said from the introduction, 2.6 gigawatts has been installed from the inception from 2011 to 2020, and solar takes 48%, hydro takes 24%, and wind takes 28%. Africa's installed solar generation capacity as of 2020 stands at 10,431 megawatts. And you can see South Africa takes 57% out of all this. The rest of Africa takes 8%, Tunisia 1%, Zambia 1%, Namibia, Senegal, and the likes. Egypt is followed South Africa with 16%. That is to tell you that in Africa, South Africa has installed over 50% of the total solar PV in the whole of the continent. Also, the installed wind generation capacity as at 2020, South Africa still leads with 41%. This is followed by Morocco, 22%, and Egypt. Then Kenya, Ethiopia, and Tunisia, and the rest of Africa takes 2%, in which Nigeria happens to be the rest of Africa. So, the total energy consumption by sector by 2018 is shown as well. You can see that for household, this is where, if not just in Africa alone, we know that according to research, over 30% of energy is being consumed by buildings, because most of the buildings are not energy efficient. Even in South Korea, I could recall a research I conducted when I was doing my PhD. That was in 2019 in Daegu. So this is a known fact that most of the buildings even in South Korea, old residential apartments, are not energy efficient. So not just in South Korea alone, even in Australia, and not to talk of developing nations like some of the nations in sub-Saharan Africa. Why am I saying this? You have to consume more energy because the building is not energy efficient. And if the building is not energy efficient, you use more of energy. During winter, for instance, you burn more of gas in the likes of Korea. And during the summer, like in Nigeria, for instance, you have to use more of air condition in the house. So the total energy consumption is at the highest for household. And the population served by off-grid renewables in Africa between 2009 and 2019 is shown. We can see that solar mini-grid has a stake, but solar light is being used mostly, especially from 2013 till 2009. Also, the trend of biogas in the production, trend in biogas production in Africa for the last decade as well. You can see that the trend has gone up from 2010 to 2019. Now, that is just the overview of all the Africa, and Africa is categorically divided into 5 regions. We have the North Africa, we have the South Africa, we have the East Africa, the West Africa, and the Central Africa. So what I did is I tried to bring in each of these regions for us to understand what is happening in each of the region. So for North Africa, We all know that North Africa is the continent's largest energy market. So this is a fact for Korean investors. If you're looking for the largest market for renewables and energy efficiency, it is the North Africa. The region has a distinct energy landscape setting, and this set it aside apart from sub-Saharan Africa. Egypt and Algeria are the far largest energy markets in Africa. Egypt is the largest electricity with capacity in excess of 64 gigawatts, which is followed by Algeria, 50 gigawatt, and Libya with a gigawatt of 14. And the access to electricity and clean cooking fuel in North Africa, you can see that aside Sudan, that is not that going at par with others. Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt, and Algeria, they all have access to clean energy, fuel, and access to electricity as compared to Sudan and Libya. And the total primary energy supply in the whole of North Korea is giving us 8,774 megajoules. And from this, you can see that natural gas takes up 46.7%, which is followed by 42.4%. And this is also followed by biofuels. That is for the North African. Also, the North African electricity generation mix as of 2019 is shown. We can see that from this analysis, natural gas is mostly used even in the northern part of Africa as compared to any of the other sources. The one that follows is coal and a little bit of wind. Coal and oil. So, and the electricity generation in North Africa, total generation as at 2019 is giving us 295 terawatt hour. From this, natural gas, because like I earlier said, I said we have abundance of natural gas in Africa. Most of the countries, you can see that 82% is from natural gas. In fact, solar, for the fact the northern part of Africa, they have a very high abundance of solar resource. Only 1% is being used for electricity generation in the northern part of Africa. And the population served by off-grid renewables for the last decade, the solar home system, which is a very good system that is being used now in Africa. At least most of the projects, I could recall a project we did for the United Nations with my boss in Kyungpo National University. What they demanded for, we have to go to Togo for the project. What they demanded for is the solar home system, because with the solar home system, you can just carry it and take it to wherever you go, just like you've recharged there's something they call rechargeables in Africa. I don't know, maybe it is in Korea here. So, also the electricity generation capacity by country and source in the northern part is shown. Then this is followed by West Africa energy mix. The West Africa is the continent's second largest energy market, close in size to North Africans. Nigeria, which has a population of 200 million people, is the largest economy in Africa. Nigeria accounts for almost 3/4 of West African total primary energy mix. West Africa has the second highest electricity access rates on the continent, which stands at 53% after North Africa. Cape Verde has 96% and Ghana has 84% electricity access rate as of 2019. Although Nigeria, with a population, very high population, has an access rate of 55%, which is very, very low compared to Cape Verde and Ghana, although we cannot compare the population in Nigeria with that of Cape Verde and Ghana. It means that with 90 million of its citizens don't have access to electricity. Out of the 200 million, like 90 million doesn't have access to electricity because the access rate is at 55%. Nigeria is at the top of the list of access deficit countries in 2019. Ghana population with access to electricity rose by 90%, up from 44% in year 2000. The top 5 West African countries in total energy supply, Nigeria is leading with a total energy supply of 6,585, which is distantly followed by Cote d'Ivoire. You can see the difference, 6,000 compared to 434. Like I earlier said from the previous slide, this, with the highest generation as well, Nigeria is still very much at a deficit because of the population. This is followed by Ghana and Benin and Mali. The access to electricity and clean cooking fuels in West Africa is shown. We can see that Cape Verde has the highest. This is followed by Ghana, and this is followed by Senegal. You can see where Nigeria is very, very low. The total primary energy supply in West Africa as of 2018 stands at 8,885 petajoules. And from these 8,885 petajoules, 70% comes from biofuels and waste. This is followed by oil at 20%, then natural gas at 88.8%. And the West Africa electricity general mix shows that West Africa also depends on natural gas, just like Northern Africa. They also depend on natural gas, which is followed by oil and coal. So natural gas, which is followed by hydropower in West Africa, as compared to North Africa, which is followed by coal and oil. As at 2019, the electricity generation in West Africa stands at 75 terawatt hour. And from this 75 terawatt hour, the natural gas takes up 56%, which is followed by hydropower at 31%. And the population that is being served for a decade in Nigeria from off-grid renewables, you can see the solar light takes the largest chunk of the population. The Southern African energy mix is the third energy market in Africa. South Africa has among the highest rate of modern energy access in sub-Saharan Africa, with 85% of electricity access and 86% access to clean cooking. Botswana and Swaziland have achieved electricity access rates of above 70%. South Africa also accounts for 73% of the electric cooking households in sub-Saharan Africa. Unlike others, you can see that the distance between South Africa and most of the other South African countries is very far when it comes to the total primary energy source, just like the way Nigeria is far from others in the western part. And for access to electricity and access to clean cooking, South Africa is leading, which is followed by Swaziland and Botswana. The total primary energy supply in Southern Africa stands at 8,070 petajoules, in which coal takes 57.1% out of it, and this is followed by biofuels with 21.8% and oil 14.8%. And the electricity generation in Southern Africa as of 2019 stands at 278. That of West Africa is around 800 plus. So, and from this 273 terawatt hour, coal takes up 75.1% out of the total generation from here. And you can see that just like the northern part and the western part of Africa, the solar light also contributes to the highest, off-grid renewable power source in the last decades, which is followed by solar home system. And in Southern Africa, we see that they depend mostly on coal. Because from the introduction, I said the Southern Africa has one of the largest deposits of coal in the whole world. So you can see they depend mostly on coal for their electricity generation mix in the whole of South Africa. Southern Africa. The country is, one of the country there is called South Africa. So this is followed by East Africa. The East Africa is one of the African continent's smaller energy markets. The electricity access in East Africa stands at 46%. Access to clean cooking at a mere or stand at mere of 7% at the end of 2019. Kenya has seen some of the East Africa's most rapid progress in electricity access. Mauritius and Seychelles have achieved universal access to modern energy, while Burundi, the Comoros, and South Sudan have the lowest access rates in the whole of Africa. And from the access to clean fuel and access to electricity, you can see that Seychelles and Mauritius, they have the highest. Even Kenya is coming behind. After the two, we have the Comoros, even before Kenya and the likes of Tanzania. And the top 5 East African countries in total primary energy mix, Ethiopia takes the lead, which is followed by Kenya and Uganda, and followed by Tanzania. The smallest happens to be Somalia. The total primary energy supply in East Africa as of 2018 stands at 4,801 petajoules. And biofuels and waste is the highest source from the region, which a percentage of 78.9. And the electricity generation in East Africa stands at 45, which is very, very small compared to even the Southern Africa, which is 200 plus, and the Western Africa, which is around more than 800 plus. So let me just, because I've been noted that my time is almost on. So like they said, the Central Africa energy mix as well, that is where the smallest energy market is in Africa, and the access to electricity is at 32%, and clean cooking is at 17%. DR Congo has Africa's second largest population with access to electricity behind Nigeria. And the Equatorial, Gabon has the highest access to clean fuels and electricity. Democratic Republic of Congo has the highest total primary energy supply in Central Africa, which is followed by Angola and by Cameroon. 2,507 petajoules is the total energy mix in the whole of Central Africa, and the top 5 Central African countries in total energy supply has 40 terawatt hour, in which from this 40 terawatt hour, 74% is from hydro, and the next is from oil, followed by natural gas. So why is Africa lagging behind on renewable energy investment? This is very key. It is a known fact that Africa as a continent is lagging behind in investments. According to RENA and AFDB, 2.8 trillion USD were globally invested in renewable sector between 2000 and 2020. But it is quite unfortunate that only 2% global energy investment is sent to Africa. Imagine a whole 2.8 trillion is being invested into renewables, and 2% out of all this money is sent to Africa for 20 years, for 2 decades, and which is equivalent to 60 billion US dollars that is only invested in Africa. And this is a continent that has, let me say, has the highest, what's it called, resources when it comes to renewable energy, but 2% were being sent to Africa. And from this 2%, which is equivalent to 60 billion USD, South Africa leads with 22.4 billion. It means out of this 60 billion that is sent to Africa, South Africa alone takes 22 point. Southern Africa, sorry, not South Africa. Southern Africa takes 22.4 billion USD of the total investment, meaning that the remaining 22, the remaining 20, what's it called, 27.6 billion is being shared among the remaining continents. Then why the reason for lagging behind? The first thing I noticed is because weak infrastructure. The weak infrastructure in so many places. For instance, for my country, the grid is not good. We have high T&D losses compared to Korea, because when I was doing some research, that was 3 years ago, I realized that the T&D loss in Korea is maybe like 4 or 5%, but my country is more than, it's a double digit. That's just the truth. It's a double digit. So imagine from the generation to transmission and to distribution, you have lost more than maybe 20 or 30% of the energy. The little energy that is being generated has been lost through T&D losses. The T&D losses is the transmission and distribution losses. So the infrastructure is very weak. Maybe that is one of the reasons why some of the investors decided not to come, because for you to implement a project like this, you have to start from the beginning. Compared to a country like South Korea, in which if you want to do an investment on renewables, the grid is already okay. All you have to do is implement your project and you connect it to the grid. But in the case of some of the sub-Saharan Africa, you need to make sure that the grid is okay. But fortunately, the government of Nigeria now has liaised with Siemens in Germany. What they are doing to go, Siemens is doing now is that they are revamping the grid, so that the grid is going to be okay. The project has started, the contract has been signed maybe 2 years ago, and the project has started. So the second is inability to develop a bankable project. That is another problem. In fact, that is one of the reasons why I decided to do what I did in South Korea, which is my area of specialization. I realized that for you to have money from investors like the GCF, you have to design a bankable project. It's not as if maybe you just tell them, we have so amount of solar in Nigeria, come and invest. No, investors doesn't really matter. Look at that. They don't look at the resource. They look at their own ROI, which is the rate of return, return of investment. That is what investors look at. So if I, for instance, bring in people to Africa or to Nigeria, to be precise, that they should come and invest, the first thing the person is going to ask me is, what is going to be the rate of return of investment? When is my country going to break even? So that is another problem. Inability to develop a bankable project. Yes, 1 minute, sorry. Then this next one is the enabling environment. The problem we're having again is that because the decision makers, they find it difficult to understand that the world has transit from non-renewables to renewable. They are making decisions that are not favorable for investors to come in. So the people in the National Assembly, they should make some of the decisions that is going to be favorable to investors, so that investors can come in. Then another problem is that most of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa focuses on centralization system. The world has moved away from centralization, especially in a place like sub-Saharan Africa, in which we don't have enough access to electricity. We should go to decentralization by bringing in mini grids to communities, to underserved regions, in which places in which the grid has not gotten to. You should not wait for investors to start. Like I said earlier, the infrastructure is weak already. And again, some places there's no even infrastructure, and you want investors to bring the infrastructure, and at the same time, you want them to bring the technology. Why not go into mini grids, in which this doesn't need any superb infrastructure? You just have clusters of communities together. Then climate financial. This is a real problem. The truth has to be said. The West has not been honest to Africa, to sub-Saharan Africa, because they don't issue the climate financial for the like. Unfortunately, we have one of them here, which is the GCF. Because for you to have a project with the GCF, you have to write a concept note, you have to do everything. You have to pass through some entities from your country. After you have done all this, it takes like a year or two. At the long run, they are not going to give you this money to invest. And which is not being fair to Africa. Like I said, 2% of the total money that has been sent to Africa, sorry, to 2% of the total money that has been sent to the world is just in Africa for 20 years. Then the last thing is capacity building. The capacity building is that most people in Africa might not even know how to write feasibility analysis. Because if you want to win an award, you want to win a project, you have to know how to write a feasibility analysis on renewables. So, and most of them, they don't have the capacity. The small and medium scales, they don't have the capacity. So this is a very big, and again, that I see that this is one of the reasons why we are lagging behind. In conclusion, Africa needs external support to decarbonize their energy system. This is a true fact. Africa market is new with lots of investment opportunities in renewable energy sectors. The continent is blessed with abundance of renewable energy potential. But I know it is not just by saying that we are blessed, we are blessed. We should be able to design a bankable project. Korean investors are invited to invest in the sector. This is because the market is new, the population is there, the return of investment is very, very okay. And the environment is okay for business. This will strengthen the relationship between Korea and African countries. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Dr. Owalabi has talked about energy issues and energy mix for Africa, where more than 1 billion people reside. You have been very accurate and insightful in talking about the African energy issues. And in electric communication, China has moved directly from wire to mobile phones without going through the pager phase. And Africa probably wants to go directly to renewable energy, skipping the steps in between. But Africa definitely lacks in investment, and there is a need for more interest in climate financing for Africa, and capacity building is a must. And if you can have a proper policy framework for Africa by 2025, more 2.6 million jobs will be created in Africa, and African economy will grow by 6.4%. That is a very encouraging forecast. I hope we can all be more aware and interested in opportunities from Africa so that we can grow together with Africa and at the same time reduce the CO2 emission. Now we'll move on to the second presentation.
We are behind the schedule. Next, we will talk about the green policies and trends in Africa, and the presentation will be made by Hak-seok Ryu, the head of the Korean Liaison Unit of the Gggi. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your wonderful introduction. I am Hak-seok Ryu from the Gggi. So in the beginning, we talked about this, about I am at the Gggi now, but I'm working for the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, and I was in the division of the energy policy. But today I am here as a secondee to the Gggi. We are talking about the green growth and the climate crisis, and the climate environment is very important. We call the human being the Homo sapiens, but the energy people call the human ignis. That means that how to make a fire, and the human being, the history is the history of the energy, history of the fire, which changed the civilization. So the fossil fuel era is over, and we are moving to the era of the renewable energy and the hydrogen energy. This is not a simple change. This is a huge paradigm shift of the economic growth. So, starting with this tone, I want to talk about the green policies and the trends in the Africa. That's what I was asked by the host. But I will talk about our main activities in the Gggi today. Today, what is the green growth? I want to talk about what is the green growth and what the Africa has the meaning about the green growth. And we also have the Gggi Green Growth Index, which is not familiar yet, but I will introduce about this and look at the African situation. And then next, I will talk about the Gggi activities in Africa. And I will also talk about my idea about the related businesses. So, let me talk about the concept of the green growth. I thought about this and I think I can categorize them into the 4 categories. In English, it is more simple to explain. So the first will be the green in growth and the green for growth and the growth for green and green is growth. So it's look like all same, but at every stage of the economic development, we have to think what kind of aspect of the environment we have to think about. In the growth, we have to be rich, and we also think about the well-being. So we think about the green in the process of the growth. And then what is the green for growth? When we have the growth, we have to consider the environmental aspects. That's why we call the green for growth. But the next stage is important. Means and the ends changed, like the growth for green, because the environment became a very serious problem. And in order to make a better environment, we have to think about how we can make a growth in a more greener way. So I brought this picture of the doctor holding the solar panel. Here, maybe we can replace growth with the health. It must have the same meaning, because in the health industry has the carbon footprint. So in the health industry, I think we have to think about the green growth too. So all the environment and the growth should be considered together and to make businesses, and that's what we do in the Gggi. So green is the growth itself. So that's what I'd like to summarize about the green growth. So I have the long presentations in these slides, but I can make it simple, I think. We have many challenges and opportunities in Africa for the green growth. Recently, the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world. So this COVID pandemic brought the first recession in 2 decades in Africa. Because Africa has a higher economic growth, which has a lot of opportunities and potential, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, for the first time they had the recession. So in terms of the output, they had a loss of the USD 115 billion, and the 14 million people drove into the poverty. So I quoted the IMF outlook. So in order to recover from the recession, the recovery should be sustainable and inclusive and greener for the African continent. To do so, they have to make the various initiatives. So the Africa introduced the Green Stimulus Program, which was conducted by the UNEP. But this is African-led initiative to support the recovery in a sustainable manner. And the Africa also has another initiative called the Building Forward Together, including the debt for climate swaps. Many European countries and Western countries are giving the loan for the African countries, and they cannot pay back very well. So they came up with the idea with the debt for climate swaps. However, In order to do this kind of stimulus program, they need the financial abundance. However, they don't have any fiscal space for those. And another challenge for the African continent is a climate crisis. As you know very well, the economic growth rate is not that high compared to other countries. So it just contributed at 2 to 3% of the global emissions. However, disproportionately, African continent was impacted by climate change. African continent was hit hardest among the other countries across the world. As much as they depend on the nature, they were affected a lot. And Africa is suffering the extreme weather phenomenon, which witnesses increasing trend in intensity and frequency. And 65% of populations are impacted by the climate change directly. And they have many problems caused by the climate crisis, such as diversity loss and deforestation and land coastal degradation. I also brought the issue about the waste management and the air and water pollution. Africans do not have the full infrastructures, and they don't have the master plan for the economic growth. So they have a makeshift measures to have the economic growth. So they do not have a room to manage the waste issues and the air and water pollution problems. Especially in the case of the waste management, Africa is a dumping place for the electronic waste from the developed countries. And they lack the system to recycle those kind of electric waste. Then what kind of economic growth model can the African continent take? This is the slide about that, and I think that Africa should make the sustainable growth that is inclusive and resilient and also creates a job. And that's what the Gggi think about the growth in Africa. Next, I will talk about the Gggi Green Growth Index. Regardless of the true or false of these index, I think this is a very good indicators to show the Africa's green growth. Green Growth Index has the 4 dimensions. On the left side, you can see the efficient and sustainable resource use, and on the right side, there is the green economy opportunities such as the green investment and green trade and the green employment and green innovation. Today's seminar's topic is a green business, so maybe we can show some ideas about the green economic opportunities. And on the left bottom, you can see the social inclusion dimensions for the gender balance and the social equality. On the right bottom, you can see the natural capital protections, including the environmental quality and the greenhouse gas emission reductions. So with all these indicators, on the left side, we have the various elements, and by aggregating all these elements, on the right side, you can see the index, In the case of the Sweden, they received the 78.72 scores. So on the top left, you can see the efficient and the sustainable resource use. And this is about how we can use the resource efficiently. Due to the time constraints, I will skip many of these one, and then I will move on directly to the green economic opportunities. You can see the ZV1 adjusted the net savings in Africa when they use the natural resources and when they have a pollution damages. So except those costs, this is all the net income of the sharings and next we can see all the share of the export of the environmental goods. And also GJ1 shows the share of the green employment, which shows the total manufacturing employment percentage. And then in the GN1, you can see the share of the patent publications. So overall, on the left side, the blue is Africa, and the light blue is the America. And in the middle, you can see the Asia, and then the Europe and Oceania in the order. So, which was very interesting to me is that all the opportunities are difficult in all the continents, especially in Africa. All the areas and all the sectors are lacking a lot of policies, but especially in the green growth dimensions and the efficient sustainable resource use, they are very insufficient for this kind of the measures. We also categorize the region into the 5 areas: Eastern Africa, Middle Africa, Northern, Southern, and Western Africa, just like Dr. Walabi did. Just like in the overall index, the green economy opportunities shows the lowest figures. And looking at the average, the score was less than the 40 or around the 40. That is the total aggregated the index for the Africa. So if you look at this table, you can see all the rankings of the African countries. In our calculation, the Botswana ranked first, and the second ranking was the Tanzania. This ranking is not that important because all the countries Africa was calculated and measured, but we did not have the efficient materials or resources to look at the situation in each country. So many countries are not included in this table. However, making this measurable table is meaningful, so you can refer to those kind of idea in this table. So next is about our activities in Africa. Gggi is not that big organization, so we just have 7 members, including Angola, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Senegal, and Uganda. However, we also have non-member countries as the partner countries, and we have the Mozambique and the Morocco. In the morning, I had a discussion with the Togo for the businesses. So the ODA businesses and the partnership projects are going on in these non-member countries. So looking at the more detailed informations, here I wrote down the priorities and solutions, but this is a diagram. You can understand what kind of activities we are doing in the African continent. You can see the climate actions and the waste management, and climate finance, and the solar power, and sustainable forest, and smart agriculture, etc. So if you look at the map of the African continent, you can see all the activities which are done in the Morocco. And you can refer to those diagram and the pictures for each countries. So you have you can see the many the pictures around the Ethiopia. That means we have a lot of activities going on in the Ethiopia, and we will diversify those kind of activities more in the future. So I brought the actual case studies. In Senegal, we are providing the project of the solar-powered irrigation for the rice production in river valleys. And for the Burkina Faso, Ethiopia, and Uganda, we are using the solar power system to have the micro and mini grids for their economies. The Gggi activities are not that different from other projects. However, our organization focusing the green growth. So the execution and development and the results can be the cross-cutting solution for the green growth. We have many green ODA and other green growth. However, even though they all have the same kinds of the solar power system, other organizations have the economic viability. However, our organizations having in this process of the solar power system, we look at the carbon footprints and reduction of the carbon footprints, and we have the goals for reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. So I can say that the value is different from the other projects. So I said here, share the vision for the Africa's green transition. Let me explain about this more. Africa is called as a land for the opportunities. However, it is very difficult to have a business there. So in the climate sector, we say mitigation a lot. And we also talk about the adaptation for the climate crisis. The reduction is to reduce the carbon emissions, and adaptation is to consider the political and the environmental issues to adapt to the current situation, and through the adaptation, how we can reduce the emission. That's what the adaptations about. However, the African continent is depending highly on the natural resources. So the thing Africa needs is not changing the paradigm immediately, but adapting to the situation is more important. So that we can change the agricultural environment and bringing into the eco-friendly agricultural solutions. However, they have to have a reduction. Maybe they can make it through the energy transition to the hydrogen or to the renewable energies. So by doing so, they can reduce the emissions. But they need the great amount of the investment. So realistically, it is very difficult for African continent to do it by itself. So in order for Korean companies to go into the African continent, we need a lot of discussion or the financial mechanism to have a more efficient solution for the mitigation and adaptation. So the green mobility and the electric vehicle can be an option, but we need infrastructure and investment to do so. So maybe the mitigation needs the bankable projects with the international organization. So for our SMEs or the international organization to have the medium-sized projects in Africa, rather than mitigation, we have to go for the adaptation. But for the larger projects, for the mitigation, we can work with the large companies and we can use more bigger the financial project financing. This is all from my presentation. Thank you very much. The Dr. Yu from the Gggi talked about the direction of the green growth and the trends in the Africa. Africa do not have the enough infrastructure, and the economic size is not that big. So the financial support should be first to have the mitigation or adaptation policy there. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. And next, we cannot receive the question from the floor due to we are having this online presentation. So we have the question in advance.
I would like to ask the first question to Mr. Olo Labi. Ms. Song Jie has asked the question, are there any similarities or differences between the renewable energy preferred worldwide and renewable energy preferred in Africa? Well, I have two more questions, and I will ask those questions before we get the answer. Second question is, in the long run, eco-friendly technology can be a strength, but hydrogen power and waste energy are likely to cost a lot more for maintenance. What factors do you have to consider? What does the government should focus on for efficient management? So two questions, Dr. Oluwabi.
Thank you. To answer the question, I think irrespective of the development of the continent, renewables is the same thing. What the Koreans want, for instance, is the same thing, as what my country wants. We all know that Korea, we have solar systems, we have mini grids in some places, especially we have what's it called, hydro turbine for wind. Same thing is like for African countries. The renewables that we prefer is the same thing as the one that is being preferred by the developed continent. The likes of Germany and the Scandinavians, they focus more on wind because they have the resources is there. Korea too focus more on wind because they have the resources, and some part of maybe America focus more on wind. But if you look at other places like maybe China focus on both wind and especially solar. But in one thing that makes Africa to be different is in a particular region or in a particular country, you realize that the renewable energy source you find in those places is not just one. You have the solar, you have the wind, and you have other sources. So what's the similarities is the preference is not just based on what you want, it's based on your resources. For instance, now, no one needs to tell me that the number one thing that Nigeria focuses on is going to be solar, because we have the highest compared to wind. So that is it. And you cannot, for instance, Germany cannot focus more on solar, they focus more on wind, because that is where they have the potential. So there's no similarities or difference in what the African countries want and what others want. So I hope the question is clear, that this is just based on the available resources in that particular location. So the second question, please, can you just scroll back? Yes. I realize that presently now in the world, they are talking about hydrogen. And like I said, in fact, the renewable energy sources in Africa has not been exhausted. But the world has moved or is moving away from renewables going to hydrogen. So the most important thing is that we should focus on what we can do presently, which is renewables. Although the likes of GIZ, because there is a non-governmental organization that sent an invite to me maybe last month. They invited me as an expert with another colleague, a senior colleague in Germany that works with the German aerospace. So we had a meeting with the GIZ office in Nigeria. We had a Zoom meeting. And what we discussed there is all about how to bring in hydrogen technology to to Nigeria. And we discussed extensively on some of the things that we think could be possible in making this a reality. Yes, we want to dance to the tune of the Western world. It is what the Western world say, oh, we should do this, we all want to do it. But at the same time, we have our own peculiarities. We have our own things that we want. Like I said, we have not even exhausted the renewable energy resource in each of the continents. Now, they are talking about hydrogen, bringing in hydrogen. Yes, to bring in hydrogen, like I earlier said, we need infrastructure. That is the number one thing. We need infrastructure, we need capacity building. Only few people can talk of hydrogen technology in Nigeria. We have specialists, but not even not just in Nigeria alone, in so many places, because this is a new technology. We need capacity building. People are vast in other areas. All you just have to do is just to capacity build them on what to do, and they are going to do it efficiently. Now, after this infrastructure, we all know that what we need to focus on for efficient management is that we need to make sure that the capacity that the infrastructure is well maintained. We can't compare the infrastructure for renewables like solar or wind turbine for wind. We can't compare it with that of hydrogen, because first and foremost, you need people that really understands how the technology is going to, the technology works, and you need them to know how to maintain it. So that is the number one thing. But if you don't capacity build people, or you don't capacity build some technocrats to do this, then how are they going to even know how to maintain it? So that is the most important thing. But from the onset, I think this is just an advice from me, that the renewable energy source that we have not even exhausted, there are so many potentials there. Jumping into hydrogen, yes, it is good, but at the same time, we shouldn't forget those as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your answers. Maybe I don't need to add more comments due to the time constraint. Let me move on to the next question. This question goes to the Mr. Liu from the Miss Lee. She said, in the COP, the Africa's opinions are ruled out. In order to prevent this and cooperate more, what can we do? And the second question is about the successful green policies. The difference between the country with the successful green policies and the country which doesn't have it is because of the infrastructure. Now, what is the key success factor for the green policy? So it is a very difficult question, but let me give you my individual opinions. So the African's opinion is ruled out in the COP, she said, but as you may well know, the historical responsibilities and problems are all different in responding to these questions. The Africa said that the advanced countries damaged the environment and asking African countries to work together, and Africa is requiring the support and the financial assistance. But I think this is a difference between all the capability and the technologies for preventing this. In Korea, the GCF was adopted in order to solve this kind of problem, and many advanced countries try to support and the donate more, but the financial assistance was not made fully for this kind of organization like a GCF. And in executing the older project of the GCF, we have many difficulties. So using this kind of policy, we have to build up the tangible projects. That's the way we have to go forward. Even though we developed a wonderful project, if we cannot do it because of the lack of the financial support. We have to work together hard to make it possible. And we also need the innovative mechanisms. I talked about this in my presentations. That for that's for the project swaps. So we needed financial support to go for the green policies. This is directly connected to the next question. So she asked the infrastructure difference between the countries which has a successful the green policies and the countries which doesn't have this kind of policy. It is not easy to have the immediate result of the green policy, and it is difficult to measure them. This can be the social benefit, but at the national level, green policy success is the result of uh, the uh, the result of the governments. With only the one companies or the one entity, we cannot make a successful green policies. So we should not focus on the short-term benefit. We have to have the direction for the long-term benefits. I think this can be answered to your questions.
Thank you for your precise and pragmatic answers to lengthy questions. And I have not had a chance to introduce you to Korea Green Foundation, whether it's for businesses or financial institutions or government institutions. What I regret most about this is that when we talk about funding and capital resources, but people are the ones who are making this happen. And when we are changing people, we really have to change their mindset first. And that will bring many people on board and create demand for that. But when it comes to building strategies and giving high priorities for changing the perception of the people, I believe it has always taken a back seat. So Korea Green Foundation for the Sustainable Earth, we need to continue to cultivate and develop green leaders to take the lead in changing the perception of the public. As we heard today, Africa has a lot of potential for renewable energy. And in order to help Africa reduce CO2 emission and utilize their renewable energy resources, more and more people need to be reminded of the importance of Africa as a member of the global community and what Africa means for all of us. Africa is a precious partner, neighbor, and we really have to remember that. And I think it's our job for Korea Green Foundation and Korea Africa Foundation to make this possible. I would like to thank all the two speakers today. And it was a very big subject or theme, and I would like to thank you all, the two leaders, speakers, and we would like to conclude the first session today.
So I'd like to thank the Mi-kyung Lee from the Korea Green Foundation for the moderation and the other speakers for their presentation. Next, we will move on to the session 2, the corporations and the opportunities of the Korean Africa green businesses. So we will invite the companies who made a successful entrance into the market and share their case studies. So for the session 2, we invited Mr. Seo Sang-hyun from the chief researcher of the POSRI as a moderator. He is one of the most experienced professionals for the African policies. He worked for the African Research Institute and also the policy advisor for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now we are arranging the stage, but I will hand over the microphone to the Dr. Seo for the moderation of the second session. While we are arranging the table, please give us some moments. Hello, everyone. We are behind schedule. Maybe we have to calm down and continue our second session. So please enjoy the two presentations. The session 2 is about the cooperation and opportunities in Korean Africa green businesses. So we invited two presenters, and the first one is a Gyeongtaek Park from the Seongshin RST. He worked in Africa and the Middle East for a long time to introduce Korea's wonderful domestic technologies for the railway systems. He is the representative model of the Korea small and medium businesses. So I looked over the career of the Gyeongtaek Park. He sold the 28 to the Congo and the 10 cars to the Gabon. And in Tanzania, he also won a lot of orders for the railway system to introduce the Korean technologies into the African countries. And the second presenter is the Jinwoo Che from the Hyundai Rotom. He was engaged in the Middle East and Africa, especially with the Egypt, to won the orders in those countries. So the topic of the second session is mostly about the railway systems of Korean companies, which is Seongshin RST and Hyundai Rotom. So they will share their business cases in African countries. Today's topic is a green business seminar. Maybe people think that this is not related to the railway system. However, railway system is a main cause of the carbon emission. So it can have a great contribution to reduce the carbon emission, and especially the hydrogens. Is used not only for the vehicles, cars, but also for the train system and also for the aviations. So we will have the era of the hydrogen in the future. So maybe we can link these hydrogen system to the railways. So today's business cases will be very helpful to understand the future trend of the Korean Africa cooperation. So first presentation will be made by Gyeongtaek Park from the Seongshin RST, and he will talk about the African railway cases, railway system cases, and the prospect.
Since we do not have enough time, please keep it within 25 minutes. Thank you very much, Dr. Seo, for introducing me. I am Director Park Gyeongtaek from Seongshin RST. Today, I want to talk about a business case, the contract that we have signed with Tanzania Railways. I will go into the details of how we came to sign this contract, and then also share some lessons that we have learned with other Korean potential investors. This picture was taken in 2014 when I first went to Tanzania on a business trip, and I took this picture. Let me briefly introduce you to our company, Seongshin RST, and then move on to our business in Tanzania, and then business field, and then move on to how we signed this contract in Tanzania, what has been done, and I will talk about some technical details as well. This is the corporate status. Our company is called Seongshin Rolling Stock Technology, and we call this RST in short. Our CEO, Park Kye-chul, could not be here today himself because he has another urgent engagement. Our company was established in 1990, and we are categorized as a small and medium-sized company that produces rolling stocks mainly, and then provide them to Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, and Africa. Our major customers are all railway system companies like Bangladesh, Tanzania, Thailand. So this is the brief introduction of our company. Our headquarters is located in Hanam, and we have another plant in Mungyong. And we have 330 employees. And these are our projects. We are carrying out Bangladesh 150 rolling stocks, and Tanzania meter gauge, standard meter gauge, 22 rolling stocks. Since we are running out of time, I will skip this history of our company. Let me introduce you to the project. The tender number was PA154. First was 59 coaches. One is for presidential bulletproof coach. And 22 rolling stocks are meter gauge rolling stocks. And it says design, build, supply. It's underlined in bold letters. This is because it can be subject to the withholding tax. Supply is based on the fact that it can be seen as goods and there will be no service tax. And design build is subject to withholding tax invariably. So design build tender number is mentioned here. So it's probably worthwhile to discuss with the tax consultants in the local area in approaching this. And the owner of this project is Tanzania Railway Corporation. Tanzania has 2 railway corporations. And for SGR, standard gauge railway, is being built by Tanzania Railways Corporations. So this is the focus of my presentation today. As for the railway, the bidding method was an international competitive tender, and then after technical evaluation of specification, there will be price evaluation. So it's a typical 2-stage bidding. This is the timetable of the project. From mid-submission to actually signing the contract, it took 6 to 7 months, or it could take as many as 8 months. So it takes a long time. And usually it is 4 months, but it can be extended. And it could take more time than you might think. After bid submission, there is evaluation and then negotiation. And then since it's a national contract, National Audit Office will do the legal review, and then contract can be signed. The picture on the right top hand is the picture when we signed the contract. The ambassador was present for the contract signing ceremony, and the picture on the bottom is another contract signing ceremony in 2021. And on the right-hand picture, since this is a very important project, there was another contract for infrastructure development, and it was widely reported in the media. And the contract signing that we did was covered in the Citizens News of Tanzania on the same day. Business overview. Tanzania is now constructing standard gauge railway from Dar es Salaam to Mwanza. And it kicked off in 2017, and in 5 phases, they are now soon be operating between Dar es Salaam and Morowa, and there will be 2, 3, 4 stages. For the 1, 2, 3, 4 construction, Turkey company is building it, and the 5th section is now being built by Chinese company. This is the blue line that is being constructed by Tanzania Railway Corporation. This is the SGR line. P1, P2, P3, P4, 5, they stand for different phases. This is the map of EAC countries: Kenya, Congo, Rwanda. And from Jerusalem, a Tanzania port, these are the areas that are expected to have the highest trade volume, because Tanzania is soon going to be a bridgehead or gateway into Africa. This is the brief overview of SGR Project Finance Scheme, or you can refer to this chart for more details. And TRC, Tanzania Railway Corporation, and Seongshin RST worked on this kind of contract. It was considered as goods and services, and they were considered as design build. And when there were only goods, then we signed supply contract. Next, this is the summary. TG number 1, rolling stock is a bulletproof presidential rolling stock, and then kiosk, normal rolling stocks, and handicapped. 59 rolling stocks have been ordered. We signed the contract in 2020, and they will be delivered this year. And for model number 22 coaches, these are the ones that we have signed the contract in 2022. So it will be delivered within this year. So this is a brief or bird's eye view of our rolling stock. This is one of the 59 rolling stocks for kiosk. And presidential rolling stock is a sensitive issue, so I cannot share the picture with you today. So when you look at the interior, it's 2x2, every seat facing the middle. It's shaped like Semaul or Mugunga train rolling stocks. There's the business class, and the next is economy class. And for economy, it's 2x3, it's smaller and accommodates more people. This is the second class sitting corridor bogies, the exterior design. For the second class sitting corridor bogies, it's generates its own power through renewable energy. This is the restaurant corridor coach, and it has the beds, or there are also sitting type rolling stocks. This is the last section of my presentation. Tanzania has a national e-procurement system called TANEPS. TANEPS has all the bidding related information, and everything is done electronically. So you need to register yourself with this system as a registered supplier. And after you make the payment, you will be registered as a supplier. And if there's any tender that you're interested in, you need to make a separate payment to be qualified as a bidder. So this is I will talk about how to register yourself in TANEPS. Step 1 is to enter basic information for registry. The letters are too small, but if you click this, you will be making a payment and identify yourself, what kind of company you are and what kind of products you offer. So as a result, you will be registered as a supplier and you can make a payment on a credit card. Just to follow the process, and after you are registered as a supplier, step 2, click this field, and then this is a very detailed information about each step. After you register yourself, you have to get a finalized account list. Make the payment, and then you will be registered as a supplier. So you are qualified to participate in basically all biddings. And there are so many bidding related informations posted. Tanzania is now making a massive investment in various infrastructure projects. And Tanzanians need to invest heavily for infrastructure so that they can have a headway in developing their industries. So especially for railway, they are making massive investments as we speak. Last but not least, after we have done the electronic signature, then you can also verify your awarded contracts. So TANEPS is something that you really have to get used to. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Director Park. If you have been to Africa, you might agree with me that the biggest barrier for economic growth of Africa is the lack of infrastructure, and especially for electricity generation and transportation. So in order to overcome that problem, many African governments are making investment in building their infrastructure for power generation and transportation. And they're receiving some investment from foreign countries now. And especially in East Africa, around Tanzania, Mr. Park, Director Park, has shared the details about how he has successfully done business in Tanzania. Let me move on to the second presentation.
Mr. Chejinu will talk about the current status of the Hyundai Rotom business in Egypt. Please go ahead. Hello, everyone. I am Chejinu from the Hyundai Rotom, the Foreign Business Division. Nice to see you all. So we talked about the African experience. So it is a land far, far away from us, but we are having the business there, and we also have the priorities in the market, and we are leading the direction of the future businesses in Africa. Let me briefly introduce about our company. And the railway itself has a environmental aspect. However, moving beyond that, Hyundai Rotom is leading the green trend in the transport and the railroad system. So I will tell you about that. So introducing our companies, Hyundai Rotom has a three business area, which is railways and defense industry and the eco-friendly plant engineering to lead the future advanced technologies, especially looking at the railway system businesses. We are making the conventional railway cars, and we are also giving the maintenance service and the operation services. And keeping up to the eco-friendly trend, we are developing the hydrogen tram. From next year, we already have the prototype, but from next year in Ulsan City, this hydrogen tram will be operated in Ulsan. And for the eco-friendly plant engineering, in addition to the auto and steel mills, we also have the hydrogen plant businesses, and we are building the future weapon systems for our defense industry. The Hyundai Rotom advancing into the 6 continents, including 38 countries, and now we are exporting the 18,000 railway cars. And currently, the 20,000 were made for the Korean market, but the 18,000 cars were made for the overseas countries, now including the Asia with the 9,000 and the European countries, including Turkey and Oceania and Africa and in the North America and the Middle America is our export market. So let me tell you about the status of the railway system in Egypt. Egypt opened their railway system in 1856 with the 9,653 kilometers tracks. And 420 million people are using the railways annually. However, the cars are aged and they have a need to change the cars to the new ones. So the total railways is double of Korea, but the passengers are half of the Korea, and the total railroad is the 1/5 of Korea. So that shows how difficult to use a railway system in the Egypt. They don't have the air conditioner in the cars, giving a difficult situation for the passengers. So for 15 years, I've been traveling to Egypt. So I worked hard for the export of the railway cars to Egypt so far. So in 2012, we won the bid for the line number 1, survey line number 1 in Cairo. And at that time, the market of the metro in the Cairo was occupied by a French company and the Japanese company. However, the Hyundai Rotom won the bid among them. The biggest reason we can won the order was the active localizations. So among the 180 cars, 81 cars were produced in locally. And I remember that when we won the orders, the Japanese companies was making the cars locally, and we visited those factories, and the Japanese companies didn't show us their facilities. So we almost to have a fight about it. But after that, the Japanese companies mocked Korean companies, saying that the car production delayed 8 months when they did it, so the Korean company cannot do it, they said. However, in the end, Korean companies, our company, Hyundai Rotom, made the cars 1 month earlier than expected. After that, we won the bid of the 256 cars for the line number 3 in Cairo. The first bid was for the 512 cars in Cairo, and we competed against the French company. At that time, the French company received the full support from the French government, but we didn't get the support from our government. So the French company has a very low interest rate financial projects to win the bid to make the national level deals with Egypt. However, luckily, Hyundai Rotom also received the Korean government's support in the end to win the bid of the half-half delivery. Now these cars are under delivery, and currently locally those vehicles are produced. This is the EMU, which has the same design with the line number 3. We competed with the Chinese company, not with the European companies. The reason why the European company didn't come into the bid was that we made announcements that this will be very difficult fight for the European countries, and they gave up the joining in the bid at that time. And for the 118 kilometers, we had the modernization of the signaling system for the Cairo. Just like the 60s and 70s in Korea, they have the manual signaling operators for the trains, which cause a lot of accidents. So their technology is lagging far behind. So I will talk about the businesses we are currently joining the bid for. In 2012, we entered into the Egyptian market, but Egyptian government offered us to work with the Egyptian public-private partnership company. So we started these businesses with a lot of money, but we were recognized as the very strong candidate because we had a very sincere partnership with them. However, the European companies and the European government had the active engagement in the Egyptian railway system. But the Korea won the 320 vehicles orders and now under production. And now we gave them a pitch that we can reduce the completion and the delivery due date, which saved a lot of cost and the benefits, giving the benefits to the Egyptian companies. So the total order is the 320 vehicles, and there is the cooperation with the company called the NERIC. So 25% of the products will be made locally in Egypt. So these businesses will bring the direct and indirect employment, and we will also contribute to the Egyptians' technological independence, giving them an opportunity for the export. For Korea, it can be an opportunity to secure the leading position of the railway system technologies. and the 80% of the total parts will be the Korean parts in Egypt. So even though the Egypt has their own technological independence, the parts, Korean parts, will be used continuously. So that will be the great benefit for Korea. So for the Egypt, up to the 5,000 employment can be created. And Egypt can enjoy the high quality of the Korean parts. And railroad system put the safety first. So the parts is a very important. Brake is very important part, but which was occupied by German companies so far. But Egypt adopted the Korean parts of the brakes for the cars, securing the great quality of the important elements of the vehicles. Egyptian railway systems are obsolete and aged, so they have to replace the old cars with the new cars continuously. So it will be a great strategy for Korea. We secure the volume in the Egypt, and we have to have the bigger market share to have a smooth business in the future, especially in the green energy sector. So we have a high expectation for the hydrogen tram, and many Egyptian ENC companies are considering of the adoption of the hydrogen tram in the new administrative capital of the Egypt, and the preliminary feasibility study will be done soon. So our ultimate future direction is that we will have the more localization with the NARIC. We provide the technological transfer, but that will be beneficial for Korean companies too, because 80% of the total parts will be Korean parts in the Egypt. So that will be the great foundation for exporting the Korean parts. And under the support of the Korean government, the Korean companies can have an opportunity to win the bid for the line extension. So from next year in Korea, the hydrogen demonstration project will be executed in Ulsan city. So this will be the good opportunity for Korean companies to have businesses of hydrogen businesses in Egypt. And soon the hydrogen economy will be opened, so we can be prepared for that by doing this kind of projects. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentations. Egypt is one of the most advantageous country to have the hydrogen businesses because they have the great resources. So the renewable energy cost is high in Korea compared to the Middle East countries or the African countries. So we have to import the hydrogen. However, Egypt has the great benefits and they have resources. So maybe it will be a great opportunity for Korea to have a cooperation with Egypt. And building the infrastructure is the most urgent issue in Egypt. So the railway, building the railway system and the construction of the railway system is highly required. So the Korea companies like Hyundai, Rotom, and Songshin RST can provide the railway cars. So I expect the active business entrance of your companies into the African countries. So let us have the questions we received from the participants.
First, this is related to the Tanzanian case. After signing the contract, what kind of follow-up measures have you taken? And next question is, what do you think is the future prospect for the railway market in East African countries? So Director Park, would you like to answer those questions? Yes, thank you. As for the follow-up measures, well, some of the products have been delivered and some of them have not been delivered, but based on the contract we have signed, after we received the order, we went through the process of getting our design drawing approved, and there's another business that we are working for delivery. And in 2014, we have been working with an agent company in local market for spare parts delivery or any other follow-up measures. And about the future of railway market in East Asian African countries, well, East African countries like Tanzania, they do not have enough railway infrastructure. Some of the railways are missing in some areas. So when it comes to large cargo trains or fast transportation, the options are quite limited in Africa, and they do not have a large number of well-developed airports. So the entire EAC railway is connected, but these connected railway, I think, will grow in size after we begin establishing standard gauge railway. And from EAC countries, there used to be 3 countries. Now it has increased to 6 countries. One of their long-term goal is to connect all the 6-member countries through a connected railway. And if there is railway access to the remote areas where they have the reserve of natural resources, it will greatly help African countries to develop their economy. So I'm sure the East African countries will be very much interested in this opportunity.
Next question is about the Egypt. We have 2 questions. So what is the difficulties in your businesses in Egypt, and what is important element to resolve those problems? And next question is about the cooperation with the NARIC. So other than this, what kind of example do you have, and what kind of factors you have to consider for the localization? So to cut it short, we have the 2 businesses in Egypt right now. So now we have businesses under execution, and we one in the development. For the business under execution, communication with the client is difficult. I'm not talking about the languages barriers. I'm talking about the attitude of the companies. So when we change the design, it would be mutually beneficial, but they know, the client know about that, but they just say no. They insist the specification, original specification. So maybe that could be the cultural difference or the bureaucratic attitude of the government. However, those kind of things is difficulties we are having. And sometimes they ask the compensation to go for those businesses. So that is the difficulties. And the business under development has a difficulties of the competition with the European companies. I think that is because of the check and balance of the European countries due to the political reasons or the economical reasons. So that's the difficulties for us. We are alone in those fights, but the European company has the great backups from the governments and the other allies. But recently, the President Moon visited Egypt. So the Egypt had the improved awareness on Korea, and they are interested in the Korea itself. So I expect we can have a better relationship in the future. Yes, and we have a cooperation with the NARIC in Egypt. So NARIC is the manufacturing facilities. We transfer the technology to produce the railway cars there. So the railway cars are made there and painted there, and the spare parts are installed into the cars. And test is conducted locally in Egypt. That's what is called localization. If needed, the Korean spare parts company can come into the Egypt and that they can install the parts into the car which is made there. But important thing is the intention and the will of the local companies. For other Egyptian businesses, the publicly owned companies are making the vehicle cars there. So when we made the line number 1 vehicle cars, we had a great technological transfer. However, in 5 years later, they cannot make exactly same cars, even though Korea gave the technological transfer. So the will and the consistent interest and attention and the hard work of the local company is the most important factors to success, I think. When President Moon visited Egypt, the first thing he did is making the first African Korean FTA countries by making the MOU there. But Egypt requested investment because their unemployment rate is very high, even though the financially capable population is very young. So for the Hyundai Rotom, the localization will be the success factor in the Egyptian market. That doesn't just stay limited to the Egypt. When we do a business with the Africa, rather than having just a simple trade, we have to help the African countries so that they can secure the talents and human resources through the technological transfer. So rather than thinking that we just sell the products to the Africa, we have to pursue the cooperation and the strategically cooperative relationship with the African countries. And listening to the two presentations, we can know that the Korea has the highly advanced technologies, not only in the railway system, but also in the other business sectors. So once again, I'd like to thank the two presenters for their presentation, and this is a wrap for the second session. Thank you very much. Thank you, moderator, for your wonderful moderation, and also the two speakers for your presentation. We'd like to close the Korea Africa Green Business Seminar with this. And this business seminar, I hope, can be an opportunity for the Korean companies to find out the trends and opportunities to go into the African continents. And I'd like to thank all the online and offline participants for joining us. And I'm closing the Korea Africa Green Business Seminar with this. Thank you very much.